Hi everyone! Today we're going to be making cinnamon roll twists. I'm gonna zoom out on myself so that way you can see what I'm going to be using. Alright, so this recipe says it will typically make 8 cinnamon roll twists, but I would like to make them into mini size because sometimes they're just too big. So I have a cup and a half of warm water, and in here I have 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of yeast, and I've already let it sit for about 5 minutes. In this bowl, I have 3.5 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. Alright, so now that this has been sitting for just over 5 minutes, you can kind of see it's getting a little foamy. I have my dough attachment on my KitchenAid, and now I'm just going to add in the flour and start mixing it all together. Now you can do it all at once, you don't have to do this in increments. You can flour kind of whatever you want. You can do your surface that you are working on. I just don't want to flour the granite and then have to cut the dough on the granite. So I'm just going to lightly flour it. And then I'm going to put the dough right on it and let the dough sit and rise for 10 minutes.
A few moments later.
Okay, now that I've let that sit for about 10 minutes, I am going to roll this out. You don't want to roll it out too thin because you want there to be a decent amount of dough. However, I do want to make these twists kind of mini because sometimes if you have a full one, it's just too filling and too sweet. So I'm going to be aiming for the size of just about this cutting board. Alright, so that looks great to me. The next thing we're going to do is take some melted butter, about 5 tablespoons, and we're just going to put it right on top of the dough and spread it out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar and just sprinkle it throughout. You're going to take this and fold it in half. I like to do it the long way. From here, you just take your pizza cutter, or you can use a knife. I thought the pizza cutter worked perfectly. You're just going to make little cuts. Now you could do longer twists, but I kind of want smaller ones, so I'm first just going to cut it in half. That way I can get it all onto the cutting board. I'm gonna kind of move one out of the way, and then just little twists. And what you do now is I like to start in the middle, and there's no science, so I just start in the middle and I twist, and then I kind of like to pinch the ends. That way I just make sure they stay together. And I put it right onto a cookie sheet that I've greased. And what you end up with is something that looks just like this. And from here, you're just going to let this sit anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, kind of let them take the shape that they have. You can coat this with a little bit of melted butter just so when they're in the oven they get nice and crispy. But yeah, 10 to 15 minutes, pop them in the oven, 400 degrees for about 20 minutes.
20 minutes later.
Alright, so this is what you end up with, and now we're going to start making the glaze. Alright, so for the glaze, I have 16 tablespoons of salted butter. I also have 4 ounces of cream cheese, and I got the whipped kind just so it's a little easier to mix. But just 4 ounces of any cream cheese will work. And I'm gonna beat these two together just so they get soft. Alright, once they're mixed in, I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of milk. And then also my vanilla, and it's about 1 teaspoon of vanilla, which I just kind of like to eyeball. Looks good, so we're gonna mix it in. So I'm just gonna pour in a little bit to start. And I'm gonna pulse it, I'm not just gonna start it all at once.